Riders, welcome back to the channel. Today we are riding the all-new 2022 Honda Rebel 1100 DCT. For 2022, the Honda Rebel lineup did not change. The only thing that you're gonna see that's gonna be different from the 2021 to 2022 is gonna be the addition of the brown color. Today we're riding the black one, but as far as your suspension, your engine, your seating, your braking, anything like that, nothing has changed. Everything has remained the same. The Honda Rebel is powered by 1100 parallel twin engine. This is going to have 81 horsepower. It's going to have 68 foot-pound of torque. This is going to be the same platform that you're going to find in your Africa Twin lineup. Now, as far as suspension and tires go, so you're going to have an 18-inch tire in the front. You get a single disc caliper. You also get 4.8 inches of travel. In the back, you get a single disc caliper, single piston, and you're gonna get 3.7 inches of travel, and you get a 16-inch tire. So as far as ground clearance goes, you get 4.7 inches. So it's gonna give you a comfortable ride. As far as the lineup goes, if you guys see my videos, I rode a Harley Davidson Sportster S, and the suspension travel on that motorcycle was literally none. Like literally it was like nothing, and you could literally feel everything just because that rear suspension has so little travel. But that's going to be one good thing about your 1100 DCT that we're currently riding. So being a DCT transmission, the Honda Rebel has different riding modes. So you have the ability to switch between 4 riding modes. So you have the ability to do sport, you can do standard, you can do rain, and then you also have a setting which is called user mode. The user mode, basically you're able to tailor that mode to basically whatever needs you might have. So one thing that I like about the DCT is going to be the fact that the shifting is going to be very natural. So it feels very natural. You don't feel like none of that clunkiness. It literally is like the computer knows where to be, what gear to be. And when you're switching between riding modes, if you ride the motorcycle in standard mode like we're currently on, it's gonna hold the shifting of the gears is gonna be a lot quicker. If you're in sport mode, the shifting is gonna be a lot it's gonna hold the gears a lot longer because it's trying to maximize your power on each of the RPM or each of the gears that you're currently on. So one great thing that Honda did was that you're able to switch riding modes on the fly. So as you see right now, we are on standard mode. So let's say we want to go ahead and do sport. You let the throttle go, and as you saw earlier, this stops flashing. That means you are fully engaged in your next riding mode. So as you can see here, it's holding the gear a lot longer, so which basically what it's trying to do is trying to give you the most power as you can. We can definitely switch this back to standard, and sooner or later, as you see, it just literally switched right away, just because when you're riding in standard mode, it's like you're riding for comfort. So the Honda Rebel 1100 has a 3-liter storage under your seat. So when you think of storage capacity, that's actually a pretty decent storage for cruiser motorcycle guidelines. This has a 3.6 gallon tank. So the Honda Rebel, it's averages mid 40s to low 50s. So with a 3.6 gallon tank, you're going to be basically you're going to be getting around between, I would say, depending how you ride, you can get anywhere between 120 to 140 in your riding mode and your riding range. So the beauty about the DCT transmission is it does all the shifting for you. So for example, if you're somebody that has a left-hand injury, there's no shifting to do. So guess what? That prolongs your riding career. So the DCT also allows you to select between drive, which is what we're currently on. As you can see here, the D is going to be for drive. And then if we switch to the different riding modes, and by riding mode I mean between drive and manual, if we press here, right now we're riding on manual mode. So right now we're doing all the shifting. So right here, you're gonna see we're gonna have a downshift and up here on my index finger on the other side of the handlebar, you're going to have a plus, and that's going to be to change your gears. So for example, let's say that, you know, we're coming to a stop. I want to go ahead and downshift. Guess what? We could go ahead and do that manually. Or if you want to, you could literally wait till you come to a full stop, and guess what? The transmission is going to automatically switch back to first gear, as you see there. Let's go ahead and put it back in driving mode. We are there on drive, which is going to be for automatic. So the Rebel 1100 is going to be throttled by wire, so that means you're going to get cruise control and different riding modes. So for those of you who have not used a cruise control on a motorcycle, it's one of the easiest things to use, and you are going to get used to it right away. You set up your riding mode just like you would on your car. So for example, our cruise control button is going to be over here on your right handlebar, so we press it. As you see, now we have the light here on. So just like you would on a car, let's say we want to go ahead and cruise at 33 miles an hour. Guess what? Let's go ahead and push that. We're set now. So we're cruising at 32. Let's say I want to go ahead and disable. I press my brake. Guess what? We just went ahead and disable it. You could either go ahead and press your brake. You could go ahead and just manually turn it off and on like you do over here. So the Rebel 1100 is going to be the biggest Rebel in the lineup for Honda. So you have the Rebel 300, you have the Rebel 500, and then you have your Rebel 1100, which is the one you're riding today. So what Honda is trying to do, Honda is trying to keep some of those riders that would typically jump to other manufacturers, whether it's going to be Kawasaki, whether it's going to be Indian, Harley. They're trying to keep that rider so they grow in their ecosystem. The good thing about the Rebel is going to be that you're going to have a very low seat, so it has a 26.7 seating height, so that's going to make it very comfortable for any type of rider. As you can see, I'm 5'10", I'm fully planted, and actually my knee's actually a little bit bent. So Honda did a great thing when they made the Rebel 1100. They kept in mind, you know, some of those riders might not be too comfortable, and having the addition of the riding modes is going to make it a lot more comfortable. When you are changing between your riding modes, the beauty of the riding modes is it allows you to change the mapping of the way your motorcycle is going to be running. So for example, let's say and I'll show you guys here. So we see that we're going to have P is going to be for power. So when you're in sport, you're going to have all the power. T is going to be throttle, so you're not going to have any kind of throttle interference. And EB is going to be for engine braking, so you're going to have about halfway for engine braking. So let's say it's rainy, or let's say, you know, the rider is still getting confident, is still getting used to the motorcycle, and they want to go ahead and be able just to you know, not get scared by the power or, you know, anything like that. So as you can see, when we put it in rain mode, it's going to give you for P, so it's going to have 0 for P. For throttle, it's going to give you maximum. That's going to be that it's going to give you basic maximum allowance, and there's going to be 0 engine braking. Then the beauty of it is that you have the ability to do a user mode. That's going to be your 4th mode. So on that one, you're able to tailor the motorcycle to basically to tailor the motorcycle on the user mode to your needs. So that is one great feature that, you know, the Rebel has. Now let's talk about the display. You have a 4-inch display. It's very visible. I have sunglasses on and it's still visible, so, you know, I don't have any complaints there. Now my one gripe would be, if you look at the 4-inch display from Indian, you know, the ride command system that they have is going to be just like this. Number one is going to be touchscreen. This is not touchscreen, so, you know, that's one downside. And number two, you have the ability to do Apple Play, which again you're not able to do here. You're able to connect to maps, you're able to connect your music, your Bluetooth. You don't have any of those features here, so that would be one thing that I say that Honda maybe has to work on, or, you know, they're just happy with what they have. So the Honda 1100 is going to be great for short riders with its low sitting position at 26.7 inches. You're going to be very low to the ground, which means if you're going to be a tall rider, and let's use myself as an example here. I'm 5'10". As you can see here, my knee is literally hitting right here at the edge of the tank. So you're going to be a lot more comfortable if you're a shorter rider. From what I understand doing my research, They are gonna sell you controls that are gonna be more forward than the ones that the motorcycle comes equipped with. So if that's true, then that might be a good option, just because you're able to move the controls forward and you're able to actually have a more relaxed sitting position versus how I'm sitting right now. I'm literally cramped. I feel almost like an ape sitting on the Rebel 1100. The starting price point is going to be $9,999 for the DCT. You can always find the 6-speed manual. That one is going to come in around $9,200. The addition of the DCT adds around 21 pounds to the total weight. So the DCT model that we're currently riding comes in at 509 pounds. So not that much of a difference when you think of the advantages that you have of the 1100 DCT versus your standard, versus your standard 6-speed manual. The Honda Rebel 1100 DCT, since it's equipped with a dual clutch transmission, that's what DCT stands for. It's not going to be like your typical motorcycle. As you know, your typical 6-speed transmission, let's say you park on a downhill or uphill, you're able to put your motorcycle in gear and the motorcycle is going to hold in place. You don't have that ability with this one. The DCT transmission, anytime you turn off your engine, it's always going to go back to neutral. So Honda, what they did was to go ahead and fix that issue, was they added a parking brake. So the parking brake, the way it works is, and I'll show you once we come to a full stop here down the road. It's not going to be here. So the parking brake, the way it works is, you have this lever here, and the lever, the way it works is, let's say you want to go ahead and park your motorcycle somewhere, you pull the lever, and light, which is going to be over here for P, which stands for parking, is going to light up. That means that your motorcycle is going to be in parking. Now the 1100 DCT, as I said earlier, it's always going to start in neutral. Anytime you're getting ready to go, you're going to have to press the D for drive, or if you want to go ahead and run it in manual, you can. But once you have the automatic transmission in drive mode, let's say for example first gear, you are not able to give the throttle any type of response. Now you're able to do that by switching the transmission back to neutral. But if you're in drive and you accidentally in first out of light or anything like that, you try to give it some throttle, you're gonna fly off the seat, just because it's gonna be basically just like a scooter. It's gonna be in gear. Once you give it throttle, it's ready to go. So now getting used to the DCT transmission, honestly, from a rider that has already written the DCT transmission on several models, the Goldwing, the NC750, the Africa Twin, and the Rebel, a couple of times, the automatic transmission on a motorcycle, unless you've written one, you do not know what you're missing. You don't have to be thinking about shifting during the RPM range. You don't have to be worrying about shifting with with your left foot. You don't have to be worrying about clutch. All you literally are doing is just giving a clutch. I'm sorry, not giving a clutch, just giving a gas and go. I mean, even if you don't even want to mess with the riding modes, just leave it where it is, standard mode, sport mode, whatever it is, and you're able to ride the motorcycle with no issues. So now, the one downside that I see to the Rebel, and that's just me from having ridden motorcycles for a while, and it's not a big deal for me, is the fact that it's going to be chain driven. I feel that a motorcycle in this size already and in this range should have a shaft, just because this is not an off-road motorcycle, and the shaft, believe it or not, minimizes your maintenance. Now the chain is not a big of a deal. You just have to loop the chain every 300 to 500 miles. Keep an eye on the slack, that way you're able to keep that slack to a minimum. And honestly, chains last a great time. If you actually give your chain routine maintenance, your chain should last you 25,000-30,000 miles, depending on the type of riding you do. Now if you really ride it hard and you don't do a lot of maintenance, then the life of that chain is going to be a lot less than what I just mentioned. The Rebel 1100 in sport mode, I'm gonna have to say that it honestly feels like a different motorcycle. I'm gonna give you some juice here. As you see, she literally wants to get off the line and go. Like, she's not thinking about it. Now if we would have done the same thing on standard mode, the response would have been less, just because the way the throttle response is and the way the power is delivered. But the DCT 1100 on sport mode, oh my god, it rides beautifully. I cannot really say how much I enjoy this motorcycle. Now as you're gonna see, you're gonna have very short mirrors. The mirrors are not gonna be very useful which to me, that's kind of a, you know, downfall. I don't know why Honda and many other manufacturers, they should have mirrors from the factory that, you know, work as they should. So for example, this one you might have to get like a little extension or something. Now I understand if you're shorter, your arms are going to sit lower, so you're going to be able to get better visibility. But being 5'10", if you look, all you're going to see when you try to use the rear view mirrors over here, your left and right side, all you're going to see is going to be your elbows. So, you know, something just to, you know, not a big deal, but just something to consider if you're buying the 1100 DCT. Now I'm waiting here to get to the light so I can show you something that has been bothering me, and I'm not sure why they did it this way, but they did. So if you see at the handlebars, here's your handlebar. So I mean, beautiful display, beautiful you know, setup in the handlebars, in your right handlebar, your left handlebar, everything flows smoothly. Now why do we have these cables? I mean at least they use, you know, black zip ties and it's black, but it almost feels like it doesn't, like they don't belong here, you know. So let me show you how the parking brake works. So right now we're in first gear, so let's put it in, we're gonna have to pull the P. So you can see here we are, so we're still in first gear, you're in park. Let's say you want to go ahead and release the parking brake. All you're gonna do is you could do two hands. You can either hold this here and press it here and just keep going. But honestly, very beautiful motorcycle. The design that Honda did is great, and if you're going to be a shorter rider, I believe the Honda Rebel is going to suit you better. So let's say you are undecided, you know, which, you know, cruisers, you know, kind of sport bike you are looking to get, and you know, you're in between, you know, the Scout or in between the Sportster S or the Rebel. If you're looking for more comfort, I have to say that the Rebel 1100 is the one to go. It has more suspension travel. In my opinion, it handles okay. So if you're looking for more comfort, then the 1100 DCT from Honda, the Rebel, will be the one that you would go with. Now, if you're looking for performance, let's say you're looking for, you know, to get more you would definitely go with the Sportster S. You get almost 100 foot-pound of torque with the Sportster S. You get over 120 horsepower. So there is no denying that the Sportster S is going to have a lot more power, and it's going to be a lot more fun. Now, the one downside that I have to say from riding the Sportster S is going to be the lack of suspension travel, especially in the rear. I believe, if I remember correctly, there's going to be 2 inches of suspension travel. So when I tell you that you feel everything, you literally feel everything. The Rebel having 3.7 inches of suspension travel, you actually feel the difference. It actually feels a lot more comfortable. And if you're going to be riding the Rebel, you know, a little bit on longer distances, it's going to handle a lot better than your Sportster would. Now, fun factor, we have to be honest, we have to give it completely to the Sportster S. The way it handles on the Sportster S, the power is beautiful, and that 6-speed transmission that Harley made it to that to the Revolution 1250 engine, it definitely feels great. So all right guys, so what do I like about the Rebel? I like that it has a DCT transmission. If you're looking for something in this ballpark, there's not going to be anything. The only dual clutch transmission in the market right now is going to be the one that we're riding. That's going to be the Honda Rebel. Now, if you're looking for something bigger, they have the Goldwing. If you're looking for something that's going to be able to do some dual sport, you have the Africa Twin. And then what I call it is like light touring motorcycle. They have the NC750. So I mean, Honda is kind of covering all the bases. But in terms of dual clutch motorcycles in the market right now, the only manufacturer producing them is going to be Honda. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what I like. So I like that it's a dual clutch transmission. Honda reliability, Honda quality, Honda cost of ownership is going to be very low. It has it's going to be throttled by wire, which gives you the ability to have, you know, different riding modes, which is going to be great. And most importantly, you're going to have cruise control. Now, what I don't like, and this is going to be based on my ergonomics. I mean, if you're a shorter rider, I'm sure that it's not going to be an issue for you, just because you are going to be looking for something that's going to be like this. It's going to be just how short and how low to the ground it is. It has a 26.7 inch seat height, which when you're sitting with the forward controls, you're able to see that my knees are literally hitting the edge of the tank. So other than that, Honda did an amazing job with the Honda Rebel. They definitely knew what they were doing when they were drafting and they were producing the 1100 DCT. As the years progressed, there were no changes for the 21 to the 22 model, but they keep refining the way the transmission keeps shifting. So the transmission keeps getting smoother and smoother as the generations pass. So you first saw the DCT transmission on the Honda Goldwing, and they have been working on them tirelessly to get them to be where they are today. So other than that, guys, it's a great motorcycle. If you enjoy this type of content, just give it a thumbs up. That way the algorithm knows it's good, and I will see you guys on my next video.